And finally, we're on number 7 of the Unit 8 review. They want us to go back and find the horizontal and slant asymptotes for all of these. We're going to do them in reverse order. We'll do 6b first. It's top-heavy, so I believe there's going to be a slant asymptote. Let's go ahead and check it by doing long division. What times x makes x squared? X. We distribute here, and you get x squared plus x. When you put a line under it and subtract now, the x squareds cancel. There's no x up here, minus x, making a negative x down here, and we bring the minus 4 down to join. We can go again because the degree here is the same as the degree up here. So x times what makes negative x? Negative 1. We distribute again, and you get negative x minus 1. Put a line and subtract. The negative x's cancel. Negative 4 minus negative 1 is negative 4 plus 1, or negative 3. So we now have a remainder, negative 3, and you put it over x plus 1. A little bit of clarification here. This entire thing is the same graph as this entire thing. They're matches. The asymptote is simply the front end here before you get to the remainder. So the slant asymptote is at y equals x minus 1. For A, it's bottom heavy, so the asymptote, the horizontal asymptote, would be at y equals 0. For 5b, it's top heavy, x cubed is larger than x squared, so we're going to do long division. Little note here, if you do long division and there is no remainder, that means there is no slant asymptote. If you do long division and it works out perfectly, there's no slant asymptote. So x is our start value. X times x squared is x cubed. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times 1 is positive 1x. Put a line and subtract the whole thing. X cubes cancel. Negative 5x squared minus 2x squared is negative 7x squared. Negative 14x minus x is negative 15x. And we can keep going because our degrees match. X squared times negative 7 is negative 7x squared. Negative 7 times 2x is negative 14x. And negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. There's nothing here to subtract that from. Subtract the whole thing. Negative 7x squared minus itself is gone. Negative 15x minus 14x becomes plus 14x. So that is negative 1x. And 0 minus minus, or net minus negative 7, is positive 7. This is now a remainder, so we will have a slant asymptote. The remainder would be, you could do this a couple ways. One would be to add negative x plus 7 over x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay. Now, the entire thing at the top there, if I graph this whole thing, that's the same as the original function. Just the asymptote is this, x minus 7. Y equals x minus 7 is the asymptote, the slant asymptote. And finally, let's go to A. A is balanced, meaning the degree on top matches the degree on the bottom. So the asymptote is at y equals the ratio of 1 to 1. So y equals 1 is where the horizontal asymptote would be. If the numerator had 3x squared on the front, the asymptote would be y equals 3. If the numerator was just 1x squared while the denominator was something like 5x squared, the ratio would be 1 over 5. So 1/5 is where the horizontal asymptote would be.